Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I am Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot, coming to you from Washington, D.C. It is Monday, the 24th of May, 2021. Tonight, we have updates from several of our correspondents across North America. Myla Simbulan in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania's CHIRP program helping restaurants across the Commonwealth recover from COVID hardships.
Mayan Manzano Guerzon in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
New Jersey ends indoor mask Monday, drops 6-foot social distancing requirement, and lifts indoor gathering limits.
Samantha Ilagan in Biloxi reports about Mississippi appreciating the highway patrol and military families, and the state being commended by Senator Roger Wicker for opting out of the federal supplement aid. Julian Simbulan in Lancaster joins us this evening.
Los Angeles inoculation strategy transitions to mobile clinics to reach undervaccinated communities.
Alan Basalaya takes us to Paramount Ranch, where tender-loving tree care is given to its fire-ravaged hills. For EBC Sports, Michael Hudson in Seattle reports about Phil Mickelson becoming the oldest major champion in PGA history. Tenny Sumagi in New York tells us about Trae Young silencing Madison Square Garden Knicks fans, and Carmelo Anthony answering hostile Nuggets fans with hot shooting. Plus, for tonight's roundtable, it's all about sustainable eating. Our coverage begins now. Pressure is building for a tough international response to Belarus's forced landing of a European airliner so it could arrest an opposition activist. The Ryanair flight from Athens to Vilnius carrying dissident journalist Roman Protasevich was diverted while in Belarusian airspace on Sunday over a supposed bomb threat. State television reports Protasevich was detained on Sunday. Passengers described seeing the 26-year-old who had been living in Poland looking nervous as the flight was diverted to Minsk. The incident comes as the European Union is set to discuss toughening its existing sanctions against Belarus, imposed over the crackdown by the regime of President Alexander Lukashenko on opposition protesters at a pre-planned summit Monday, calling for Protasevich's release and adding those responsible must be sanctioned. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen tweets, "The outrageous and illegal behavior of the regime in Belarus will have consequences." Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki denounces Belarus's actions as an act of state terrorism, while French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian calls for a strong and united response from the EU. Lithuania and Latvia have called for international flights not to use Belarusian airspace. The International Civil Aviation Organization, the United Nations Civil Aviation Agency, says the forced landing could be in contravention of the Chicago Convention, which protects nations' airspace sovereignty. Minsk's airport had released a statement earlier saying the plane had to make an emergency landing there following a bomb scare. Lukashenko's press service says on its own Telegram channel the president had given the order to divert the flight and had ordered an MiG-29 fighter jet to accompany the plane. It becomes as Belarus authorities intensify their crackdown on the opposition following historic protests that gripped the ex-Soviet country after last year's disputed presidential election. Meanwhile, Lithuanian Foreign Minister Gabrielis Landsbergis has called for action from all countries in the European Union after the forced landing, saying the issue must be raised immediately in all formats available to them.
Tvaresnis atsakas būtų, jeigu tokį sprendimą priimtų visos ES valstybės. Ir manome, kad tas klausimas turi būti nedelsiant iškeltas visose mums prieinamuose formatuose. Tai tiek ir vadovų taryboje, kuri vyksta šiomis dienomis, tiek ir užsienio reikalų ministrų taryboje, kuri vyks Lisabonoje šios savaitės pabaigoje. Avialinijų skrydžius per kitomis kryptimis, ne per Baltarusijos oro erdvę, nes kaip ir premjerė minėjo, tai galėjo būti bet koks kitas lėktuvas, kuriam būtų skridęs koks nors ponui Lukašenkai nepatinkantis opozicijos atstovas ir būtent to lėktuvo žmonės būtų paimti įkaitais.
Lithuania on Monday says it would not authorize any departing or arriving flights that cross Belarusian airspares, a day after Belarus forced a Vilnius-bound plane to land and arrested a journalist on board. In other news, twice a week, dozens of Mozambican children gather under the shade of a big mango tree for what looks at first glance like a community playdate. But they are not there for fun, rather for solace and healing after witnessing shocking atrocities committed by jihadists in the north of the country over the past 3 years. Mental health workers ask the children, some of them toddlers, who look outwardly happy, to draw anything that comes to mind. 17-year-old Alberto Almeida sits behind the smaller children, holding his paper on his right thigh, artfully sketching an assault rifle and then drawing a red X over it. He captions it Noa Kahaputha, which means no gun in his native Makwa language. Still haunted by an attack on his village in Bilibiza in the coastal Kisanga district, eyes downcast, Almeida recounts tersely the day in late 2020 when he fled. Almeida says war hurts after witnessing an entire section of the village go up in flames, causing residents to flee for their lives. The torching of homes, as well as the beheading of civilians, is the calling card of the militants linked to the Islamic State group IS, who have ravaged parts of Mozambique's northern Cabo Delgado province since 2017. Separated from his parents and his 2 sisters and a brother who were captured by militants, Almeida walked for 5 days. By the time he reached the main port of Pemba, his feet were bruised and swollen. He now lives in the Metuge camp, 30 miles west of Pemba, as does an uncle. The camp shelters more than 30,000 people who were uprooted from their homes by the extremist violence, which has killed more than 2,800 people. Mental health activity manager Eric Ma Rodriguez in Metuge says drawing helps the children express pent-up emotions.
So you can see now that they are more open to draw. They are happy to express emotions. And at the beginning, people is more reserved. They do not express that much. They are quite avoiding. They look to each other. But now they come, they approach, they ask, they draw. And it's really good because it's important to recover again the linkage with the pleasure things, to the game, to the play, which is important of the development part of the kid, but also to connect with life.
Attack survivor Juabo Agostinho says helping others who went through the same experiences as he did is very therapeutic for him.
First, I can say it's a good experience for me as a displaced, and it helps me to overcome my problems, and also it gives me esteem by the time that I help some other people to overcome these problems.
And now for today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University and Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday, May 24, 2021, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 167,268,000. The top 3 on the list of countries with recorded cases: the United States with more than 33.1 million, India with more than 26.7 million, and Brazil with more than 16 million. Sadly, the virus has now already claimed more than 3,465,000 lives worldwide. Top 3 countries with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the United States with over 589,000, Brazil over 449,000, and India with over 303,000. The number of COVID vaccine doses administered worldwide is now at 1,675,155,698. Now for COVID news, no country should assume it is out of the woods. In the face of COVID-19, this is the warning of World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Tedros tells the World Health Assembly the global situation remains fragile.
Globally, we remain in fragile situation. No country should assume it's out of the woods, no matter its vaccination rate. As of today, more cases have been reported so far this year than in the whole of 2020. On current trends, the number of deaths will overtake last year's total within the next 3 weeks. Since our health assembly started this morning, almost 1,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19. And in the time it takes me to make these remarks, a further 400 will die. This is very tragic. We must vaccinate 250 million more people in low and middle income countries in just 4 months, including all health workers and the most at-risk groups as the first priority. These are the minimum targets we should aim for.
India passed 300,000 confirmed coronavirus deaths today, Monday. Fatalities remaining high despite the country flattening out the number of new cases in its devastating pandemic wave. It became the third country after the United States and Brazil to cross 300,000 deaths. For several weeks, the country of 1.3 billion has been hitting record daily rises in infections and fatalities, overwhelming its healthcare system. While the crisis has eased in major cities such as New Delhi and Mumbai, the coronavirus is still spreading in rural areas and southern states. Another 4,454 deaths in 24 hours, the second highest daily figure so far, took India's toll to 303,720. It has added the last 50,000 deaths in under 2 weeks. Experts say the real number of deaths and infections, now 26.7 million, are probably much higher than the official figures. The brutal wave has been accompanied by the emergence among coronavirus patients of thousands of cases of the usually rare infection mucormycosis or black fungus. The government has given figures between 5,424 and 8,848 for the number across India. Normally, it records fewer than 20 cases a year. Doctors say one of the reasons behind the explosion in black fungus infections has been excessive use of steroids on virus patients. Health Minister Harsh Vardhan says imports of the main antifungal drug, amphotericin B, had started to arrive in the country amid a severe shortage. Meanwhile, Indians hope for return to normalcy after being battered by the record-breaking COVID-19 surge.
By looking at the current situation, I think it's going to take time because you see the population is quite huge in India. That's why it's taking time. And I think lockdown will extend 1 or 2 weeks and they will remove the restrictions slowly so that we can control the situation. And these quite frightening in the beginning when everyone in their home, it was quite new to everyone. But soon we got used to it. But then the second wave came and so many deaths and horrid situations. So it's quite difficult to live in these times, but you have to admit the situation and try to live with what we have.
It is to control the virus, and we hope that we are going to win the battle. But this one of the methods of controlling the virus. And I think another 10-15 days more, and India will be back on the normal.
Up next, reports from Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Eagle News America continues.
Humanda na kayo dahil this is gonna be an exciting battle para sa ating monthly finalist. This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Singing Edition.
This program is supported by China Bank. Your success is our business.
Welcome back. This is Eagle News America. In Pennsylvania, restaurants recovering from the impact of COVID-19 get additional assistance from the CHIRP program. To tell us more about this initiative, Bureau Chief Myla Simbulan joins us tonight. Myla?
Good evening, Eliza, and good evening to all our viewers, and good morning to all our viewers from the other side of the world. The 145 million COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program, or what we call CHIRP, continues to successfully provide pandemic financial relief to Pennsylvania's restaurant and hospitality industry. The Wolf administration encourages businesses statewide to apply for assistance within their county. Here's Secretary of the Department of Community and Economic Development, or DCED, Dennis Davin, to tell us more. Take a look.
I'm proud to see the critical funding from the CHIRP program making its way into the hands of business owners like these folks. This $145 million secured by Governor Wolf and the legislature was distributed through our counties and the certified economic development organizations, and will have a major impact on Pennsylvania's hospitality industry. It'll help them on their road to recovery. And it will ensure that people across the Commonwealth can continue to enjoy their favorite restaurants for years to come.
State funding has already been provided to all 67 counties, which disbursed the funds. Most recently, $7 million in Bucks County and $450,000 in Venango County. The Wolf administration secured a transfer of $145 million to be appropriated by the state legislature into grants for businesses under the CHIRP program. Since the governor made the funding available earlier this year, the state has worked with counties and economic development partners to quickly send assistance to the hospitality industry. One of the recipients of the CHIRP program is Mama Randazzo's Pizzeria and Restaurant, a longtime family favorite restaurant in Altoona, and received $25,000 in assistance through CHIP. Here's Paul Randazzo, owner of Mama Randazzo's Pizzeria and Restaurant. Take a look.
The COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program, known as CHIRP, which you hear these guys mentioning, the financial assistance was absolutely a welcome sight. But what it signified was that there was help out there. And that was important. The fact that people in those positions to give assistance were cognizant that restaurants like ours need it is even more important than the actual financial assistance itself. Knowing we have an ear that's just a phone call away and possibly get some assistance, that hope is very important. So,
counties are administering the funding through one or more designated Community Development Financial Institution, or CDFI, or Community Economic Development Organization, or CEDO, which began processing applications from businesses in each county on March 15. Funding must be provided to businesses by July 15, 2021. Meanwhile, for the weather here in Swarthmore, it's 61 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius with clear skies. In Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Myla Simbulan, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Eliza.
Thank you, Myla. We know very well that the food industry, the restaurant industry, is one of the most impacted businesses during this pandemic. Now, Myla, who is eligible, who is actually eligible to receive the state funding, and how will the funding be distributed?
So, Liza, any Pennsylvania county is eligible, and funding is distributed based on population. For example, Philadelphia County has the largest population here in Pennsylvania, and so it's allotted 17 million. While Delaware County, the county where I'm at right now, is allotted 6.4 million. Liza?
You mentioned any county. So you're saying all counties in Pennsylvania, are they all provided with this funding from the state?
Yes, all 67 counties. They're already being provided with their funds. And the most recently funding that was given was 7 million in Bucks County, and I think another 450,000 in Venango County. Eliza?
Okay, Myla, as a resident of Pennsylvania, you've been there a long time. How do you help the hospitality industry in your state?
So we're the type of people who doesn't usually go out and eat at restaurants. We love cooking at home, but then just to help. Because of this pandemic, just to help all those restaurants out, especially the small restaurants, the branch ones. We now go more often, and especially those our favorite restaurants, because we don't want them to go away. And we also added more in tips just to help our local restaurants here, especially here in our area. Liza?
Thank you, Myla. We'll talk about more about eating in a little bit. I'll see you around.
Thank you.
In New Jersey, several pandemic restrictions have been eased. EBC's Mayan Manzano-Guerzon tells us which ones and what this means to the state. Mayan?
Thank you, Eliza. Governor Phil Murphy today signed Executive Order number 242, lifting major COVID-19 restrictions and moving forward with the state's most significant reopening steps to date. Effective on Friday, May 28th, the indoor mask mandate in public spaces will be lifted, as well as the 6-foot social distancing requirement in both indoor and outdoor spaces, the prohibition on dance floors at bars and restaurants, and the prohibition on ordering and eating or drinking while standing at bars and restaurants are also being lifted. Take a look.
Today, I'm signing an executive order that will lift the statewide indoor mask mandate this Friday, May 28th. However, even with this action, individual businesses and other entities which oversee indoor spaces may continue to require that their employees and customers or guests wear face masks. We ask that you be respectful in adhering to these requirements where they do apply. Indoor workplaces that are not open to the general public are to follow their existing health and safety protocols. That would be, for instance, a warehouse. As recommended by the CDC, there are spaces where masking will continue to be required, including healthcare settings and long-term care facilities, correctional facilities, homeless shelters, to name a few. And you must remain masked while you're on an airplane, a bus, a train, or other forms of public transportation, and while in a transportation hub, such as an airport or a train station. These requirements, by the way, will be strictly enforced. We also will be requiring that face masks continue to be worn indoors in public-facing state offices, such as when you're visiting the Motor Vehicle Commission agency. Additionally, and also per CDC guidance, this change will not extend to child care centers and facilities, youth summer camps, public, private, or parochial, preschool premises, and elementary and secondary schools, including both charter and Renaissance schools. In each of these cases, existing requirements for masking will be maintained. And yes, if you are not vaccinated, we encourage you in the strongest possible terms to either follow this, first of all, get vaccinated, but if not or until, follow the CDC guidance to wear a face mask when you're in any indoor public setting, as I mentioned, or preferably immediately go out and get vaccinated. We won't have law enforcement checking people's vaccination status, but we are asking people to be responsible and to do the right thing for your own safety and the safety of your community. To be sure, if you feel more comfortable wearing your face mask when shopping or waiting for your table at a restaurant, by all means, you may continue to do so. No one should mistake lifting the indoor mask mandate as meaning you cannot wear a mask indoors. You certainly may. There is nothing wrong with being cautious when it comes to your own health and that of your family and community. To be equally sure, we will not tolerate anyone being demeaned or bullied or excluded for wanting to continue to mask up. So we don't want to hear about it, and there will be consequences. Mask-free shopping hours and not allowing people in who do wear a mask, that will not be tolerated. Also this Friday, we will be lifting the requirement for maintaining 6 feet of social distancing in all indoor and outdoor settings. This includes businesses such as restaurants and retail spaces, personal care businesses, gyms and recreational and entertainment businesses such as casinos. Excuse me. We will also be lifting the 6-foot distancing requirement for religious services, political activities, weddings, funerals, memorial services, and performances. Every business can continue to require social distancing should they choose, and we fully expect that many will do so initially to ensure the comfort of their customers. And again, per CDC guidelines, if you are not fully vaccinated, then we are strongly encouraging you to continue to practice, in addition to masking, practice social distancing. And finally, for this Friday, dance floors at bars and restaurants may reopen as well. We will also lift the requirements that individuals remain seated while ordering and while eating or drinking at bars and restaurants.
Additionally, effective Friday, June 4, indoor gathering and capacity limits will be lifted. Over the last 2 weeks, key COVID-19 benchmarks have been achieved across New Jersey, including a dramatic increase in vaccinations and significant decreases in new COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, spot positivity rates, and rates of transmission, solidifying the foundation for the state's sweeping reopening steps. For Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC guidance, individuals who are not fully vaccinated are strongly encouraged to continue masking and social distancing. Take a look.
Looking 1 week further ahead, on Friday, June 4th, so that's a week from this Friday, we will be moving forward by removing all indoor gathering limits. This includes the general 50-person gathering limit, as well as the 250-person gathering limit that applies to things like political activities, wedding ceremonies and receptions, funerals, memorial services, performances, catered events, commercial gatherings. We will also, on June 4th, lift the 30% limit on large indoor venues with a fixed seating capacity of 1,000 or greater.
And for New Jersey's latest COVID-19 numbers, the Department of Health has reported another 260 new positive cases today, bringing our statewide total to 885,987. Sadly, we are also reporting 10 new confirmed deaths, pushing the total to 23,440 fatalities. On the brighter side, the latest total of fully vaccinated people in New Jersey is now 4,081,059. To know the latest on New Jersey's vaccination progress, visit covid19.nj.gov/vaccine. And Eliza, for a quick weather update, it's currently 10:08 in the evening here in New Jersey, and it's currently cloudy. It is 57 degrees Fahrenheit or 14 degrees Celsius. It's cold again. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, May and Manzano Garzon, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Eliza.
I know, man, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. You don't really know what it's going to be the next day. But for sure you know the answer to this. Give us a glimpse of the mood in New Jersey, given that all these restrictions are being lifted.
Well, unfortunately, Eliza, this friend of mine who just went to Atlantic City, Atlantic City is a big tourist spot, of New Jersey, where there's beaches, restaurants, bars, and everything that you can imagine for socialization, even casinos and whatnot. And unfortunately, she mentioned that even before announcing this easing of restrictions today, a lot of tourists and, majority, of course, residents of New Jersey who were there were already not wearing their mask even indoors. So, I think it's half-half. Maybe those who are really eager and longing to go out cannot wait to drop all these restrictions. But I think still, half of the residents or half of New Jersey or hopefully more are still more cautious, would still prefer to wear their mask and will have a good judgment on all of these restrictions being lifted. Eliza.
I agree, man. Like WHO Director General Tedros said, no one is out of the woods yet. So we should all be cautious.
Agree.
Thank you, man. I'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you, Eliza.
When we come back, reports from Mississippi and California. This is Eagle News America.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
This is Eagle News America. Let's head over to Mississippi, where the Highway Patrol and military families receive appreciation. Plus, the state being commended for saying no thank you to the federal supplement aid. In Biloxi, Eagle News correspondent Samantha Ilagan reports.
Thank you, Eliza, and hello from Biloxi, Mississippi. On Monday, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves paid a visit to the 65th class of the Mississippi Highway Patrol, encouraging the cadets to keep working hard, stick with their plans, and finish their goals. He stated on social media that in just a few more weeks, over 40 new state troopers will be on the road. He thanked the current Mississippi Highway Patrol officers for laying the foundation. Earlier this week, the governor shared his support for the military, presenting the Mississippi Medal of Valor on Thursday to Gold Star mother Donna Backwell of Pontotoc, accepting the award on behalf of her son, U.S. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Louise Tucker, who was killed in line of duty in Iraq in 2005. Governor Tate stated, "We are proud to be Americans and we honor those who gave all, defending our freedom." He also issued a proclamation that May 22nd is designated as Military Spouse Appreciation Day, urging all citizens, businesses, and government leaders to observe this date with appropriate ceremonies and activities to honor, support, and appreciate military spouses. In response to Governor Tate's decision earlier this month for the state to stop accepting federal supplemental unemployment benefits, U.S. Senator Roger Wicker publicly commended Governor Reeves for opting out of these benefits to help Mississippi recover economically. Let's take a look.
Fortunately, millions of Americans have governors who are pushing back against Washington's pay to stay at home policies. Governor Tate Reeves in my state of Mississippi is one example. I commend Governor Reeves for opting out of the expanded federal unemployment funds in order to help our state embark on a full recovery. Nearly half of all governors now share the same mind.
Stay tuned to Eagle News for furthermore updates. In Biloxi, Mississippi, I'm Samantha Ilagan, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Eliza.
Thank you, Samantha. In California, in an effort to reach individuals in the farthest parts of the city, Los Angeles transitions to mobile clinics for its COVID vaccination program. Eagle News correspondent Julianne Simbulan is with us tonight with the details. Julie?
Thank you, Eliza. With new COVID-19 cases and deaths remaining low in numbers as a direct result of the effectiveness of the vaccine, the City of Los Angeles is changing its vaccination program from a mass vaccination strategy to a mobile-first one, expanding to further reach out to its most impacted communities that still needs to be vaccinated. This is the goal of the city as it enters the next phase of its vaccination plan, to fully transition to mobile clinics with a target date of August 1st. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti states, "Vaccines are the path to ending this pandemic, and we've worked day and night to get shots into Angelinos' arms at our mass vaccination sites, our mobile clinics, and neighborhoods across our city. We will always meet and exceed the demand." With a growing number of residents getting inoculated, we are putting our resources where they will do the most good, delivering doses directly to undervaccinated communities, engaging and educating vulnerable populations, and eliminating barriers to this life-saving vaccine. The various large-scale vaccination sites throughout Los Angeles continue to be accessible to Angelinos in the coming 2 months, but will slowly close down, paving the way for the city to increase mobile clinics and to operate a complete mobile vaccination model with a minimum of 14 mobile teams by August 1st. The first mobile team is scheduled to operate on June 7th, and the following week, the next 4 mobile teams will follow. Los Angeles will permanently shut down the large vaccination sites at Pierce College on June 19th and at Los Angeles Southwest College on June 26th. The Community Organized Relief Effort, or CORE, will stay on board to collaborate with the city to provide the needed support at these mobile clinics. Ann Lee, CORE Chief Executive Officer, says, CORE remains committed to acting quickly and evolving with the ever-changing state of the pandemic to best serve the community. CORE will continue to work closely with LA City, LAFD, and our staff to reallocate resources according to the needs of the community. And we will continue to keep our team notified of any changes related to the COVID-19 relief program. In Lancaster, California, Julianne Simbulan, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Eliza.
Thank you, Julianne. Now, Julianne, give us a quick data on the vaccination numbers there in LA.
So, Eliza, about 4 million Los Angeles residents are fully vaccinated in the county, and approximately 9 million have already been administered with the first vaccine dose. With an estimated population of 10 million people and being the largest county in the nation, Los Angeles is doing well in its vaccination efforts, but still has a lot of work to do. There are places in Los Angeles with large communities of color that have a low vaccination rate of about 40%. So the city's plan is to move to a full mobile clinic model, and this will help them to expand to these hard-to-reach neighborhoods and make the vaccine equally accessible to the residents there. Eliza?
Now, Julie, talking about these mobile clinics, have you any information on how they will operate once completely transitioned to this new model?
Yes, thank you for that question, Eliza. These mobile units will search for high traffic areas and special events to reach the communities where they are already at for easy access to vaccination. The mobile clinics will have evening and weekend availability for vaccination, as well as be situated in accessible places while collaborating with local partners to give incentives to the public in opting to be vaccinated. Los Angeles is working with Toyota, who will help the city to have new vans for their mobile vaccination teams. The Los Angeles Fire Department will also continue their collaborative efforts with the city to assist in the administration of the vaccines in these mobile clinics and operate them in the vulnerable places with low vaccine rates. Eliza?
Before I let you go, Julie, give us an update of the COVID-19 numbers in LA.
Yes, so Eliza, today's numbers show 139 new COVID-19 cases and 4 new deaths with 319 current hospitalizations. So the county's daily average COVID-19 cases and deaths remain at low numbers, which show that the vaccination is key and highly effective in lessening the spread of the coronavirus. Eliza.
Thank you, Julianne. Now, still in California, recovering from a wildfire that damaged quite a number of its trees, Paramount Ranch receives some tender, loving tree care from a community of church members there. To tell us more, Eagle News correspondent Alan Basalay has the story.
The charred aftermath left behind by California fire seasons is still evident at Paramount Ranch, a woodland location named after Paramount Studios, whose iconic mountaintop is visible from a distance. Hoping to help repopulate the Agoura Hills area, the Church of Christ joins an organization called Tree People to provide tree care services for young saplings.
Where we are right now is Paramount Ranch. This is in the Malibu area, so it is Chumash land historically. The history-wise, it was used for a lot of ranching by different settlers. It was also once used as a racetrack, and then it was bought by Paramount Studios, and they built Western Town, which was a set where they filmed various different Western movies and TV shows. Westworld was most recently filmed here. It burned down in the Woolsey fire in 2018, so that was pretty devastating to the local community. And what's happened since then is that there's been a lot of invasive plants like ripgut brome and various species of mustard, and they've been taking over the area and essentially preventing the regeneration of the local oak trees here.
A lot of the non-native species that are here, they dry out earlier than our native species, so you have a lot of dry, flammable vegetation, which ends up extending the fire season. And not only is that trouble for the communities, that the neighborhoods that are in this area, but it's also a problem for the native vegetation and the native ecosystem that can't handle that much fire. Although fire is a part of this ecosystem, it's really periodic fire. You know, fire once every 50 or 150 years is something that this system can handle. But we have fires far too frequent. We have some areas that have burned a dozen times in the last 100 years, and that's just way too much fire.
What everybody's doing right now is the very critical job of tree care. Now, what a lot of the people who taught me how to plant said that any old person can put a tree in the ground and then walk away and be like, I did it, I planted the tree, I saved the environment. But while these trees are very tough, they are native to this area, which is a very harsh area. They do need help, especially because of all these invasives and all the drought that we've been having. So it's very critical that we remove a lot of the invasive weeds that come up, and then also that we water these little trees.
More than only watering little trees, the Church of Christ was also determined to sow seeds of goodwill.
We always look for our community, and since the Woolsey fire happened here, so we got invited to help in the planting of trees in Agoura Hills. So our church, or the Church of Christ, didn't hesitate to help.
While our brethren were participating in tree planting, we also gave out goodie bags to the passerbys, those who were walking their dogs, those who were hiking and enjoying the weather and exercising. We got a chance to share with them our official magazine of the church, our God's Message. And so we got a chance to, at the same time, help in caring for our environment. We are also at the same time able to share our faith.
We rely heavily on the public, on school groups, on private businesses, on nonprofit groups, and groups like the Church of Christ to come out and spend a morning putting in plants. You know, they can, if the group's large enough, we can get in 500 plants in a day, right? And that's fantastic.
The trek to reach the fledgling trees takes about 10 minutes by foot. And for anyone interested in helping, the overall advice to prospective volunteers is to take a hike and plant a tree. In Agoura Hills, California, Alan Basoyahe, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
We'll keep that in mind, Alan. Take a hike and plant a tree. Thank you. Still to come, EBC Sports, Health News, and if time permits, tonight's roundtable about embracing sustainable food. Eagle News America will return in a moment.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization, startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Time for EBC Sports in the world of golf. EBC correspondent Michael Hudson tells us how history was made in the PGA. Here's the report.
How you doing, sports fans? So golf legend Phil Mickelson made history yesterday when he, at 50 years of age, yes, 50 years of age, became the oldest to ever win a PGA Tour golf championship, as he won the PGA Championship, the second PGA Tour Major of the year, with a 6 under par overall finish. This event was held at the Ocean Course at Kiowa Island in South Carolina, which is one of the toughest and roughest golf courses in the entire world. During the course of the tournament, Mickelson definitely did not look 50 years old, hitting bombs all week, sending a 366-yard drive down the center of the fairway on the second to the last hole of the final round of the championship. He said that I failed many times in my life and career because of this. I've learned a lot. Instead of feeling defeated countless times, I've used it as fuel to drive me to work harder. So today, join me in accepting our failures. Let's use them to motivate us to work even harder. And I end quote. This is Phil's 6th major championship in his career, and watching him was extremely inspiring to watch simply because of his age. And he was able to take down the likes of fellow American Brooks Koepka and South African Louis Oosthuizen, who are both in their 30s. Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson's longtime rival, congratulated him on his major victory by tweeting, "Truly inspirational to see at Phil Mickelson do it again at 50 years of age. Congrats." In Seattle, Washington, Michael Hudson, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you.
Thanks, Mike. Now for NBA news, the playoffs have started, and this time there are fans in the stands. EBC's Tenny Sumagi reports on some of the exciting first-round games. Tenny?
Without a doubt, every NBA player loves playing at Madison Square Garden, especially during the postseason. Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller have had a history of silencing Knicks fans with their late-game heroics in basketball's mecca. The Hawks' Trae Young savored his villainous Garden moment in his postseason debut, driving in a floater with 9.8 seconds left to give the Hawks Game 1 of their first-round series against the Knicks.
I got a lot of emotions. I mean, obviously, I'm happy. I'm excited. We won.
I'm truly blessed to be able to be in this position. But I know the work's not done yet, and just one game. Enjoy this win tonight, and for it being my first win, first game in the playoffs. But back at it tomorrow.
He was very excited for this to be his first run, and you know, I'm sure he's dreamed of moments like that. You know, tie ball game in Madison Square Garden with the opportunity to win the game. I just told him don't pass the ball. You know, that was my advice. You know, you kind of trick yourself into thinking that you got to make a play. Hey, man, go win the basketball game. This is your team. These guys that put the franchise on your shoulders, as well as, you know, the other young guys, and you know, you're the point guy. Go win the basketball game.
Carmelo Anthony spent the first 7 seasons of his NBA career with the Denver Nuggets before being traded to his hometown Knicks in 2011. Nuggets fans haven't quite warmed up to their former All-Star, and on Saturday, boos escalated as Melo checked in the first quarter and erupted with 12 points off the bench to give the Trailblazers Game 1 in their first round series against the Nuggets.
I love them too. I love those guys too, man. It's been almost 10 years now since I've been here. The love is there, man. They love me, they hate me. I can't do nothing about that. Just go out there and smile and and you know, smile and enjoy myself and have fun and play basketball, and whatever they have to say, let them say it. It's not my concern.
Tune in to Eagle News for more highlights on the NBA postseason. In New York, Tenny Sumagi, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thanks, Tenny. A leader in the sustainable food movement, Chef Bon Lai, cooks cicadas to open up conversations about food alternatives that cause less environmental destruction than traditional farming. Here in Washington, D.C. area, billions of cicada nymphs that have been living underground since 2004 have started bursting out of the soil, a rare and remarkable invasion. Chef Bun Lai says cicadas can easily be eaten away like any other gourmet food.
Cicadas itself, while interesting, is not the most important fact. Cicadas aren't something that we should be making into gourmet food. Cicadas aren't an invasive species. They're not a pestilent species. They can easily be, if we make them into a gourmet food, eaten away, like we have with so many species that we've become obsessed with over time.
Chef Bun Lai, an advocate of sustainable food, says it takes an eating revolution to fight diet-related diseases.
In a world today where we're suffering from the biggest pandemic in history, which is not the pandemic of COVID, but diet-related diseases, we're going to have to take a revolutionary approach to how we're used to eating.
Stella Roque, a cooking workshop participant, couldn't believe she actually liked how the cicadas tasted. She liked it so much, she had seconds.
I'm here today because Bun Lai invited me to try cooked cicadas, and I thought it was going to be an interesting experience, so I decided to come along, given that I heard about the whole cicada apocalypse happening in the DMV area. So I actually grew up with like a phobia of insects, so for me this was kind of overcoming a fear of mine, and I have to say I was delightfully surprised. I was actually terrified when I was holding it in my hand. I'm like, I don't believe I'm gonna stick this in my mouth right now. But it tasted like very nutty, very crispy. I threw a little bit of garlic powder on it, and it was actually really tasty. I didn't think I would be able to eat an insect, but then I really liked it, and I had more. I was just like, actually, this is quite good.
Things actually look bad, but they're not.
Chef Bun Lai, going a little sentimental, says cicadas are a part of his childhood.
Cicadas to me aren't food, first of all. They're memories of childhood in Japan. So in Japan, cicadas represent and symbolize summertime. In Japan, they don't have 17-year cicadas or 12-year cicadas or cicadas every year. So every time we used to go visit Japan. I'd hear a cicada. So that's the music of my childhood in Japan.
Chef Bonlai says insect eating may be stomach churning to some, but not to 2 billion people who love it.
June, okay.
So I'll try and get up to
Insects are eaten by 2 billion people. Americans don't eat insects. Europeans feel that insects are disgusting. But half the world thinks that insects are delicious food, and they are.
Now let's head over to our quick roundtable. It's been mentioned, sustainable food movement. It has been defined as a wholesome sustenance. It's been called a constructive, classless, raceless international movement. It's been called a delicious revolution, transforming what we put in our mouths. Now let's ask our team tonight, what would be your version of sustainable food? Let's start with Myla. Is it free-range chicken, grass-fed beef, or backyard-grown plants?
Yes. Starting spring, I've been planting herbs. I love herbs. I put it on pasta, salad, soup. So I have basil, rosemary, peppermint. I have a lot of peppermint. I just pick from the garden and put it on my tea. And, just peppermint in hot water, it's really good. I mean, you don't even have to buy tea bags anymore. Eliza?
That's the whole idea of it, from backyard to your cup. Now, Julie, what's your version of sustainable food?
For my family, we don't really have a garden in the backyard, but I would say one of the most sustainable, foods that I like to consume are plant-based burgers. I know that, in the United States, burgers, it's a really big industry, and, that the ideal American food is a burger. So it would be really nice and more sustainable if we were to, make more plant-based burgers. And it really does taste like meat. So, yes.
All right. Now, Mayan, what's your version?
Well, for me, Eliza, definitely like Myla, backyard grown plants. And I wish I could do just like what we featured, insects, but maybe not yet. Maybe in the future. Although I've tried it once before when I was in one of these Asian country, and he was very right. Half of the world is actually really open to eating insects. But as for my household, backyard grown plants, we have bok choy and kamote tops. I try and I harvest too. It's fun.
That sounds good. Thank you so much, Team Monday. And before we end our show, we salute our frontliners, first responders, and essential workers. We thank you for your service. And that is today's Eagle News America. Thank you for joining us. I am Eliza Gonzalez Manglekmot. We live in interesting times.
Start up your weekday mornings with edutainment, news, and information kasama ang inyong paboritong Net25 shows. Samahan ang inyong paboritong morning barkada sa Pambansang Almusal at 5 a.m. Tatalakayin mga pangunahing balita sa pagtutulungan ng Radyo Agila at Net25. Samahan si Weng de la Fuente sa Balitalakayan, 7 a.m. Saganang Mamamayan at 8 a.m. NHK World at 9 a.m. Eagle News International at 10 a.m.